Hello and welcome everyone to the GLOW conference. We are going to be talking about empowering creative and critical thinking through PBL today. So my name is Stephanie Howe, but I'm going to go ahead and let Greta give her introduction and tell you a little bit more about herself.
Hi everyone. Well, I'm joining in from Argentina. I'm a sixth grade teacher, and I teach English at a bilingual school, and I also teach critical thinking to sixth graders. And here we are together with Steph. You're muted.
Yeah, and I'm muted. Okay. So I'm in Ohio and Greta's in Argentina, and it's just funny how we connected. And it's so powerful when you're able to connect through social media and Twitter. And so I am so lucky to be able to connect with her. And we were able to kind of collaborate through some PBL activities and share different templates with each other. Like, I love when my inbox says Greta has sent you a new email because I know it's going to be a good one. And it's like always these just great templates that I'm able to also use with my teachers. So even though she's using it in Argentina, some of the Ohio teachers are using some of her stuff and vice versa. So I just love that collaboration. And I just want to put that plug in there. If you're not on social media yet, you need to be. Get on there and join.
So, yes, I always, sorry, Steph, I always say social media has totally transformed my teaching, and it has also helped me become a better person. We get to learn and share so much. I see Betsy there. She's from Guatemala. She's also an amazing person to follow. And that's how it works. We support each other through social media.
So again, we just want to thank our partners that have helped make GLOW 2022 even possible. So thank you to those that have been with us. And with social media, make sure you are following the hashtags and you're also tagging. Share what you're learning, because I love to go through hashtags and just kind of follow along with the conference to see, okay, what sessions are a must to go to if I missed it because I was sleeping or whatever reason. And then what sessions might I have not caught something, or like, oh yeah, I totally agreed with that person. So make sure you're using those session hashtags as well. And then just a reminder, there is going to be a lot of information throughout this presentation, and everything is going to be recorded. So all of the presentation and discussions will be available to you. And so make sure, yeah, a lot. I love that quote in the chat. So make sure if you do need that extra resource, just know this is recorded. Also, Greta and I have our direct messages turned on Twitter. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to us directly as well. All right, let's go ahead. And now we're ready to kind of just get started and just share a little bit more about how we have empowered and created using critical thinking and creativity to help students with PBL. And again, it's been a fun process just kind of sharing that. And if you are interested in the resources, we have a Google form for you. So I am going to put that link in the chat. And we would love for you to fill it out so that way we can send you all of the templates. I think that went in okay. It kind of looks a little funky. But maybe you have to copy and paste it. So it's bit.ly/3xq. The T is capitalized, K, capital R, and then 7. And again, after the session, we're going to send you all the slides, all the resources. Sometimes we go off script. So if that's the case, you'll also have those resources as well.
If not, you can screenshot the slide and there's the QR code. Maybe it's easier than the link.
Yeah. So if you can't get it in the chat, I don't know if it's how I'm copying and pasting it. There we go. That's better.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
User error. So again, click that link, sign up on that Google form. Just let us know your email, your name, your district, and then you'll just click GLOW conference. And then again, we'll send you all the resources at the very end. So that way you have everything to be ready. Okay. So Greta, what is PBL to even start with?
Okay. So we're going to share how we do PBL. We follow the gold standard PBL. So the idea is we set or we get the kids involved in a project where they have a challenging problem, a question they need to inquire about, but it also speaks to themselves. It's important so that then they can share or decide how to share. Yes, the voice and choice is important, and here's where creativity is super, super important, and that they can also reflect on their learning and how they are doing on their PBL process, and also their learning process, because they are all combined. Like PBL is going to be a tool for us to assess their learning. And then, of course, sharing these with an authentic audience. Yes, they share their final product, and of course they get feedback, but not just our feedback as teachers. Yes, it's important that we engage them in spaces where they can get feedback from their peers, from their authentic audiences too.
Yeah, so when it comes to PBL, it's kind of that backwards design of thinking. And so when you are creating that first unit, if you haven't yet, think about these questions. What do you want your students to understand? How do you want them to maybe show that evidence? How do you want them to publish it to the world? And then when do you want them to be finished? Because this is a long process. And sometimes it takes a lot of time for students to finish their projects. So here are just some examples of one teacher where she wanted to maybe do the gender pay gap as a focus. Topic number 2 was like their greenhouse gas. So again, you're going to start with your standard. And from there, then you want to kind of decide, okay, it's going to be due by this date, this time. They're going to pick a topic. They're going to work with a group of students maybe, and then they're going to have their topic question. So again, thinking with that end in mind is the first step when it comes to PBL, because it is going to be a longer project and you're going to need to break that up for your students. And so here are just some examples of some challenging problems. Again, you want it to be open-ended, not just something that the kids can quickly Google. They're able to kind of continue in, and it's not like a quick yes or no answer. So students are really going to have to go in, really look at that issue or that problem or that challenge, and then design and use design thinking along with the PBL structures to create their products.
May I add a little something there? So, it's a good idea to engage kids in like problems or situations that involve, for example, the Sustainable Development Goals, so that it's not just, they are engaging in a situation, but it's like a more authentic situation, a real world problem. And why not empower them to take action, take that PBL process or project a step further.
Yeah. And sometimes, again, you got to model it with the kids, I think, because it is hard for them to think at this like critical level when it comes to PBL. So these are just some question stems that can help you when you're developing these questions or to help your students. So you might start off with how, can, how, do, should, could, and then you're going to tie it with who. Are they focused on like them, teenagers, maybe adults, community members, organizations? What's the action? Are they going to maybe propose something or plan something, make something? And then what is it for? Like a classroom? Maybe it's for a school. Maybe it is a community, or maybe it's even bigger where it's that global audience. So again, this can kind of just help you or help your students when you're developing those questions. And then we like to use different project contracts. So this one is just kind of a quick one that students fill out their name, their project name, and then they're just kind of signing off that like, okay, this is what we're going to cover for the 9 weeks. But there's so many different ways because group work can be difficult, right, Greta?
Yes.
And so because of that, some of these links, you'll just click the image once you get the slides resources, and then you'll be able to view more. So right here, we like to use like kind of a 21-day before we do PBL in my district, just to get students comfortable with working with a group and getting them comfortable with using the right language, because sometimes students might say they disagree in a very disruptive way. So rather than saying, I disagree with your point of view because, or asking more questions, they're just like, that was stupid. And then that right away shuts other students down. So it's really, really important for us as a staff to build that community in your classroom and creating that safe space. So we just kind of want to remind you of that. And again, we have resources for that. Another way that you can track groups is having all the upcoming tasks right here. They can check them off as they finish. And then there's an owner. So that person's not doing all the work, but they're responsible to make sure the pieces are getting completed. And then they can let the team know, okay, I'm working on it. It's going to be done by Friday. And then they can kind of keep this communication log open with their group as they're working on different parts of that project. And I love what Greta does with grouping based on abilities.
We get kids to work at the very beginning of the school year. It's more difficult to start with this. So we kind of let them group with friends, or we, tweak those groups a little bit. But grouping based on abilities is a fantastic way of teaching kids to be able to reflect on their skills and their abilities and find what they need. So what we do is we give them this sheet where it has like the different skills, like taking the lead, planning, organizing, and different qualities like ambitious, responsible, positive, independent. So they get to tick their skills and their qualities. And this is the key part here is that they don't write their name. Yeah, so they should write like a nickname. For example, if we are doing a project based on SDG 6, water, they add nicknames connected to like salty water, sweet water, so that nobody knows who this page belongs to. So then we display all the different pages throughout the classroom, and we pick 4 or 5 leaders depending on the total teams we need. And kids get to choose who their team members are going to be based on what they feel they need for the project. Like if I'm good at planning, but I'm not good at taking the lead, I'm going to need somebody who's going to be good at that. If I'm not good at presenting, I'm going to need someone who has that skill. And the same with personality, yes, with the qualities. So they get to pick their team members without knowing who their classmates are. At the beginning, it's like, no, I don't want to do this. We want to work with. But then as we worked throughout the year, they realized how valuable it is to find really team members that complement each other. And it's a bit like how life is, right? How we have teams in life. So this would be like a paper version, and the slide, the colorful one, is a digital version. We did, in this case, if you use the digital version, you have to make sure that you share it with the anyone can access link, not with the school, anyone in the school, because then you get to see who is writing on each slide. So in order to be anonymous, you need to use that setting, but both formats work. And truth is that groups really engage in each other. And I also hate this when kids like, I want to work with my friend, and there's always somebody who's left out. Here, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I love what you have done with just grouping based on abilities and how students are able to kind of become friends without, kind of secretly knowing their name, and then they're matched together. So that's such a great idea. So again, you want to start with the end in mind. So if the end date is due by the 20th, you kind of want to start there and then backwards plan out this project. And it's great to involve students in this as well, because then it helps them begin to think about, okay, it's due on this date. What steps do I need to take, and what do I need to break down in order to get this project done on time? So now we're going to talk about inquiry a little bit. So there's some teachers that might use like a Padlet, which I just kind of took this and put it on a Google sheet because, you can have your group's names, you can have their URL, their meeting dates, their notes, and then as a teacher, you're able to kind of track their project as they have those different checkpoints with you. So as they're researching, they might link a Google slide, but here on the teacher's end, you have it all organized for yourself. Another thing that you might do is you might just put questions I have, resources I'm using to answer those questions. What have I learned? And then any further questions that you might have. And then just kind of getting students also to maybe do like a, what do I know? What do I want to know? How do I know that I've learned this? And so then students can kind of use a research log as well to take notes. So for these, again, you got to figure out what is best for your classroom. We're oversharers. Again, you want to kind of think about what is this best way to have students collect research, and then how do you want them to share it with you for that check? Because if you are not inspecting it, they probably will not be doing it. So you've got to have those teacher checks. And what I love about Greta's is hers goes in as a detective.
Yes, I teach 6th grade, so I need to still get them engaged in a childish way, that not so childish way. So it's important to teach kids how to identify reliable sources when doing research, and also for life. So we use this lesson where we engage them. It starts with a video where it's a pet hypo. So it's like the hippo, you say? And there's like, is it real? Is it everything we see online real? So we start with that discussion. And then we move on to what makes a source credible. So since my students are Spanish speakers, I need to work on the vocabulary a lot. So we explore, I think, I don't remember the slide name, but one more there. So we explore each different aspect, like what is purpose, what we need to look for in an author, what is bias, what does it mean if a source is credible or not. So we have to work a lot with that vocabulary, and also with the idea of what that means. So it takes some time, but then we work with a guide I prepared for them. I think it's slide 11, Steph. Yes, there, thank you. So where, thank you, Betsy. So there we go through the different criteria, what they need to find, the author, the purpose, bias, credibility, and we do some websites together so that they know what they have to do. And then, yes, I start, over to you. You are the detectives, so start showing if your sources are credible or not. So you have that whole pack there, and also the guide. But it's important to work on that too, especially if we are, discussing all this about digital citizenship and trying to empower them for the future.
Yeah, I love this resource because not only are you teaching students to find a website, but also what is the purpose of it? Is it biased? Is it credible? Because our students need to know those skills. And so this is a great way. And so again, I love how you model with them and then you let them go and you check it with them. And you can have those different conversations, which makes really strong digital citizenship in our students in providing those skills. And so now when we want to kind of provide students with what's the purpose and getting them to, again, think, I like to use that 3 whys. So why might this topic matter to me? Why does it matter to my family and friends? Why might it matter to the world around me? But I love what Greta does as well. She has 2 templates that kind of make learning visible and her thin slides. So these are probably one of my favorite ways to also get students to think about who their audience is and how this project relates.
Yes, thin slides are fantastic. You can use it for so many things, but in this case, to explore, quickly explore what something means, like we were discussing their animals who were really badly treated. We were reading a book. So getting kids involved in the discussion and, so that the project starts speaking to themselves. That's why I love the 3 whys Steph shared. I totally stole that from her because I think kids begin to feel like it's their project. So authenticity is so important. And same as the other slide. Yes, I used to think, now I think, to start so that they can realize how they are changing, their thinking has changed or not as they start exploring the topic.
Oh, I clicked the wrong button.
Too many tabs.
So then we're talking about student voice and choice. And when you're creating a PBL project, you want to allow students' voices to be apparent along with choice. So when it comes to the creation or working in groups or how they might provide different information, we really want to provide, again, that student voice and choice. And I love how Greta does this. Greta uses a lot of roadmaps, but within the roadmaps, there's different ways for students to kind of choose their own adventure, right? So they're going along the path, but then at certain stops, they're able to kind of make a decision if they want to do it this way or this way. And there's so many areas where they're able to provide their voice within their response.
I have to say that I stole the roadmap from Steph.
And I stole it from Amanda Sandervolt, so we just keep stealing it. But it's just a great way to chunk that big project, again, into smaller pieces for students. And I love using roadmaps for PBL.
Yes, and I usually link everything to the slide with the roadmap so that it also works as a hub for them to have everything at hand. Because if not, I don't know, my 6th grade students can get, there you see your 3 whys. My 6th graders can get a bit lost. So having everything linked to the roadmap works a lot.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that the biggest barrier when using a roadmap is when you ship it out to your learning management system and every kid has a copy, because you want to have every student have a copy so they can track it on where they're at. But if you make any changes or you made a mistake, the kids will not see that. So that's the biggest barrier, is you do have to kind of make sure everything is ready to go. And you'll make mistakes your first time. And so there are just different things that you can do to help, where you're able to maybe post in Google Classroom. I've learned numbering these roadmaps have helped. So adding like a 1, 2, 3, 4. And so if I did make a mistake in Google Classroom, I can say, hey, number 4 is wrong, or here's some additional resources to support you. Because I learned that my early finishers had some misconceptions. And so then students can quickly find that number 4 in their learning management system and then do the correct or additional activities to help support their learning. So I just want to throw that out there, that is a struggle. But now that I've been making these, I don't have as much issues. But at your first couple, you're like, oh, I hate the reason, like, they make a copy and it's their own version and I need to edit it. So I just want to warn you on that.
We use Schoology as an LMS. So what I usually do is I publish the roadmap to the web and I embed the slides. So it's just one, like a master hub for everyone. Mm-hmm. And then we have the different links for each group. So that has helped when updating. But then when you have a lot of copies from each kid, so, it's not easy.
Yeah, so figure out what's going to work best for you. But I think a big part of that is fail forward. It's okay if it doesn't work. Greta and I have both failed, and so you learn from it. And it's important to tell your students that as well.
Yes, because we are, modeling what a growth mindset is, and we need kids to be able to embrace mistakes. And if not, there's no learning. So it's important.
And so now we're talking about that reflection, and you want that reflection to be constant and ongoing, just like that growth mindset. And so as you're working with students, you might just often ask them, what's your project name? They'll add their name, and then they'll put in here, like, during this time period, I had the following goals to work on this project. During this time period, I accomplished this. My next steps are. So always just thinking about, okay, I've done this. This is my goal. My next steps are. And then maybe some questions or some concerns that they might be having. And then always just checking in with students to ensure that they're doing okay when it comes to PBL, and just that reflection is huge. So again, you want it to be constant and ongoing. And again, it might be more formal where they write something down. It might be where they're just checking in with you and you're asking them different questions as well. So either way works. I've even seen teachers maybe use Flip, where it used to be Flipgrid, and they are responding to like videos, and they're just thinking about, okay, what is going well? What are my next steps? What do I need to accomplish? And these are the questions I have. And again, you can have them write it down or not, totally up to you. But again, formative assessments, you're constantly having teacher check-ins with students. You're checking over their work. You're checking over their research. Usually after every kind of piece, I like to just check in with the groups. How's it going? So your role as a teacher does look different in these PBL projects, because you're not just lecturing all of the time. Your students are doing the hard work, and you are more of that facilitator, checking in with them and doing mini lessons. Like if I notice that a student was struggling on the research area, I can pull a small group right away and teach them. All right, let's do Greta's lesson with the detective, and let's review all of those different steps. So again, it's very formative, and based on that formative data is where you're going to pull your small groups and what you're going to do to correct students. So having, again, those checkpoints are huge, where again, like we love to kind of add the executive functioning skills within here, where they have the task, who's responsible, the due date, and then the status, and is it done? So always having students kind of come back to those different logs really helps. And then I love also like the peer-to-peer check-in as well. And I think, Greta, you use that a lot in your classroom, don't you?
Yes, we have an agility framework. I don't have the slides near. We should add it there. Now I look for it, but what we do is get kids while they are working in groups. We have like, first they set their learning goals, and they do a definition of fun, like what does it mean to work together and have a good time. So each group agrees on how they are going to work, and then there you go, you are amazing, Steph. And then they decide on their definition of done, how we are going to know that our work is done and ready to submit. So then they have the stories, that it would be what they need to create and what they need to learn, or their learning targets probably, and the celebration criteria, which would be, it's more connected to the rubric, like they are, I can do this or I can do that, so that they can analyze what they need to do and what they are expected to do. And then they start working. They have, I think it's the second slide, the one there. So they have this chart where they write what they need to do. We use Jamboard for this. This is like the original slides, but we use Jamboard. So they use sticky notes to share everything. So they move what they do to what they are working on, to their BC column, and then done once it's done. But every like 40 minutes, an hour, depending on the day, we have these small check-ins. I get together with every team, and we do this reflection. Okay, what have been your challenges as a team? What are you proud of? And what is the GPS? Yes, what is the next steps you need to take to get the project going? So we do lots of check-ins throughout the project. So I know where the kids are, I know what they are doing, and at the same time, they know where they are and where they need to go. Once the project is ready and they share, we also make a final reflection, and we keep a record, like all these, that's a Jamboard. We call this document the flap, and everything is there. And that is a very important document for us as teachers and for them to analyze what has happened throughout the project.
Yeah, and I love, like, here's the Jamboard version, but in the slide deck in the speaker notes, I added this link. So that way, if you needed to edit something, you're able to do so. But again, it's great for students to work. And Greta actually wrote an ISTE blog on this topic as well. So I'll probably have her add that as well to the speaker notes because her article was really good. So again, when it comes to reflection, there's so many other resources. This is another favorite one of mine. And I was sharing with the teacher the time capsule. Greta shares it best. But I had a teacher that was like, oh, I need to do that. So how do you use your time capsule, Greta?
Okay, we start this at the very beginning of the year, and we get kids first reflect on their glows and grows. Glows is what they are good at, what they are proud of, and grows is their areas of improvement, what they need to work on. And then, well, the time capsule has like their learning goals, their likes, their favorite things. We choose a one word. We use thin slides for that. So we have like everything nice and sweet in that set of slides. And we lock it. I remove their access, and we open it up at the end of the year. We are going to open ours this year in 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks when we end school. But the good thing is that Glows and Grows keeps going throughout the whole school year. So when we finish each project, we do another Glows and Grows. So kids reflect on the particular project, but also on how their goals have changed, or they have achieved them, or they still need to work on. Maybe they have a new goal. So that it's amazing to see like their whole reflection process throughout the year. At the beginning, it's not easy, especially in my case that I teach Spanish speakers, English. But as the year goes by, their reflection becomes deeper. First, language can be a barrier, but as we train them and we go along with them, it's amazing. I think, see there. So that would be the glows and grows. And then we have some other reflection ideas. We use, for example, in some projects, we read books. So we have different moments where we get kids reflecting. I think reflection has to be all the time embedded in the PBL process. So we have different strategies. This one, rock, paper, scissors, is one of my favorite. The rock would be what has been like the hardest thing to learn, or something you are still struggling with. Paper is what you think is the most important idea, so that you want to take down notes of it and keep it written down on paper. And scissors would be like what you need to what you think could be removed, what topic you think is not necessary. So when they are doing research, sometimes they find out lots of stuff. Okay, this I'm going to remove it, and they need to provide a reason for that. And then we have the tweet, the tabletop Twitter, which is also great. Kids write a tweet here. It's like we're working on summarizing and getting the gist out of something. And then they need to sketch it. Yes, they need to find an image, connect their tweet to an image. So we are also working on media literacy. And then they need to come up with a hashtag, a creative hashtag. And what we usually do is get kids share their tweets with each other. So they need to find one of their classmates' tweets that they find meaningful and retweet it. But when they retweeted it, they need to add a comment. They need to add something. So we are working on reflection, digital citizenship, creativity, like so many things, in just like what it looks like a simple activity.
Yeah, I love the tabletop Twitter along with those rock, paper, scissors. So much great ways to add reflection into your classroom. And then these ones are fun as well, where there's book snaps and the 3-2-1 reflection. And I love what Greta has here with her student example with like,
yes, that's one of She was so shocked. We were reading A Long Walk to Water, and she was shocked with the ending. There's a tutorial on how to create book snaps with Google Slides. Truth is, my students this year are Canva fans, so it's like I would have to add the tutorial, the Canva part, but there's the slides and some examples my students have made. They love doing book snaps. Whenever we don't do book snaps, they're like, come on, we want to do book snaps. So it's great. Even if you're not doing PBL, even if you are just reading a book, there are so many strategies involved. And then the typical 3-to-1 reflection, where we ask them for 3 interesting ideas or 3 interesting facts they learned, and 2 questions they still have about the topic, and 1 muddy point, something that is still confusing, that they are struggling with. And something I forgot to say is that usually with all these reflection pieces, I give them choice. Like if they want to create a video, if they want to create a presentation, if they just want to write it, if they want to do it on paper, because I think giving them choice when they are reflecting is super important. It helps their creativity, and it also removes barriers, because I had students that are not that, like, they prefer to talk rather than writing. So it's important. We are not working here on their English writing skills or, I don't know, speaking skills. We are working on their reflection. So giving them choice is super important.
Yeah, and there's a question in the chat. I'm wondering how long it took you to prepare all these materials. And I love to create, so I'm sure it has taken me hours. But one thing I do want to say is Greta always shares on Twitter. So if there's a template that you want, and you'll have all the resources to the slide deck if you filled out that Google form, everything will be shared to you. And I think just building your personal learning network. I know for me, like I'll find this 3-2-1 reflection, like someone will post it on Twitter, and I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't used that strategy in a while. And then I just go to Canva. I don't know, Greta, sometimes I think you go to Canva, Slides Mania, right?
Yes. Yes, I also use Slides Go, Slides Mania, Canva. And also, I don't know if you're a member of Go.edu, Steph runs this amazing community where there's so much sharing going on, and she also shares a lot. So yes, it can take time, but there's so much sharing, and sometimes it's like, oh, I like this you did, and maybe I need to tweak it because my students are working on something different, but it's great. Yes. So
yeah,
Go.edu is my favorite community.
Yeah, and it's an email, so sometimes the emails can get confusing, like overwhelming, but you're able to monitor what you want. But you can just see here, people are just asking for resources and ideas. And like someone was talking about a behavior sheet, and everybody's responding with different ideas and templates, that we were able to kind of collaborate together to create a resource. So if there's something that you need, all you have to do is ask. And you can kind of see here that people just ask. And again, it can get overwhelming because there's so many people asking different things. And you got to figure out how you're going to maybe set up your emails, or if you want to be a part of all those emails. Yeah, we're very oversharing community. But then like this 12 days of Techmas, like I got so many ideas from people just sharing their templates. And then I was like, oh, I could use that in my district and give them credit. Like I didn't need to recreate all of that. So it is a fun community to be a part of. And you're able to get a lot of different ideas from this community. But again, Slides Go is great if you love creating. So if you do like that creation piece, they have some really good templates. Slides Mania, Paula is amazing. So
she's the best
here where you can kind of take a slide and recreate it. And then Canva. So if I just type in fall right now, I can create, and maybe I really like this template. I can do that 3-2-1, and I can get rid of the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I can add that reflection instead. And I really like this template. So it's going to be used for something.
Yeah. For example, the agility templates, I found something on Canva and then I started tweaking it. And it was easy, it didn't take me long to do them. So I think Canva is a great place, and it's becoming better and better every day.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So now that we've done some revision or we've gotten feedback and we've kind of have that reflection piece, now we're ready for that revision piece. And sometimes the scariest part is getting feedback, right? But again, we've got to train our kids how to get feedback. And for me, I used to be so scared of getting feedback. Like I was afraid that people would hate what I shared, right? And so after I went to Sydney, Australia, I don't know why I had to go there, but during the Google Innovator night experience, I really learned that feedback isn't a bad thing, but it's all about how you give it and how you receive it. So what we might do is we might have our students kind of have like I wonder, what if, have you considered, I've noticed, or they might use this tag feedback. This is Pixar's model when they're giving feedback, where they start with a positive. They make it personal. So they might say like words like I instead of everybody hates this. Like I didn't like this part of it. Not everybody didn't like this part, because you can only speak for you. So again, teaching those kids how to give feedback is really important. And then they want to be very detailed. So if I'm watching a video, I like to say at the 3-minute and 5-second mark to this mark, I really liked what you did during that part. Or on this piece of the poster, I liked how you organized it, rather than it's great. Like that doesn't give good feedback. And so we talk about that and how to be very detailed on the feedback. And then when we're making suggestions, again, we might just ask it as a question. And I also love personality tests, like so much that it's probably scary. But when it comes to personality tests, Stephanie Rothstein does a fantastic session. It's called Can We Talk? And she has like a whole website on it. And there's a video that walks you through all of the different colors. But there's all these different people in a classroom. And so how we give them feedback matters. And every person in your classroom will want to like receive it a little bit differently. And so, for example, if you're a gold, they need it very structured. You need to share exact details, and you need to stay true to your word. So if you told a gold, hey, the directions changed, and you didn't tell the gold that the directions changed, and you're grading them on like a new rubric, they're going to be really upset with you. So you got to be very like, okay, from the start, this is what I told a gold. And if not, you got to tell them right away, like, hey, we changed it a little bit, because they're going to know the rubric. They can probably read it back to you. A green needs to be asked questions. These are our thinkers. And so these students need to have some questions given to them. And then when it comes to blues, they need that feedback sandwich where it is positive, negative, positive. And then our oranges, they need you to get to the point. They need you to include their name and how it is relevant to them. They don't do well with like a blanket feedback statement. They really need to know how it relates to them. So I'm going to throw this as well in our speaker notes. So that way you can explore this, because I think having and knowing a little bit about personalities can help as well. And then I love what Greta does with tag feedback.
This is a protocol I learned about when doing the EC certification, and it engages students in meaningful discussion, but at the same time, you provide like a safe environment for them to start developing like empathic discussions. Yes. So by this protocol, like the T stands for tell your classmates something you liked about their contribution. A is ask your classmate a question about their contribution. And G, give your classmate an idea and suggestion. So there we have some prompts to start guiding the discussion. And it's important because kids at the beginnings are like, no, I just want to put great, I like it, because kids tend to do that. But as they, start developing this skill, their comments become more meaningful, and they start to learn, like, I cannot put like I don't like your PowerPoint presentation, or I don't like what you did. Like, okay, why did you choose that? Or why didn't you do, like, in a way that the conversation is safe and nobody feels like, oh, nobody liked my job, my work, or look what they are telling me. So it's super important. And we use this not just for PBL, for everything. Like whenever there's a feedback moment, like when kids are giving feedback to each other, we follow this protocol.
Yeah, this is a great one to follow for students. And I love that you provided, like, I wonder if, and then the kids can finish that. I have a question about, and then they can finish that sentence, because sometimes when students have sentence starters, it allows them in their brain to kind of really think about, okay, this is what I do have a question about, and then they can finish that sentence. So great strategy to use with your students. And then when it comes to product, so now students are getting ready to take all of that research, take all of their findings, and package it up in a nice, pretty product. And so here, I would not share this with students because I think it's too much choice. But as a teacher, you kind of have this resource right here, and you're able to go, okay, my students could create a Kahoot game. And based on this, you can create a choice board of different activities that they're able to do to share their findings with everybody. So again, there's just a bunch of different ideas here. If there's templates, they are linked in here as well. And so students then can kind of use this as a guide. But again, I would not give students this choice board because it's kind of like our teacher hub where we're able to add all of our different ideas. And then from here, you can go, okay, these 3 choices, I'm going to make another choice board with by going to Canva, Slides Mania, Slides Go, or just create in a Google slide. But again, I would not give this to students, but you can kind of see here, these are just some ideas that students can use to create their project. I also like to kind of leave a open-ended one where they just have to get approval from me. But some of our students want to use maybe Tanker or code.org or video or something else that I didn't even think about. And I like to give them that freedom to say, Miss Howe, I want to use this. And then I can say yes or maybe not this round, depending on what it is. Typically, I always say yes unless it's something crazy. But again, taking those ideas and then making a smaller choice board where students might record or they might sketch out their project or presentation. And I like to do activities where they can be done on and offline. So that way students have a choice as well in what they're kind of creating when it comes to that choice. And usually when I say presentation, they can use Google Slides, Slides Mania, Canva, Prezi. There's so many options there that I kind of leave it up for my students. And I like to not give them so much direction on what they choose, because if I do, I feel like they'll be boxed in. When I don't give them those like directions, then they go further and over and above my expectations. And then the rubric. So we just wanted to provide some rubrics for you. I really love Greta's rubrics because she uses those glows and grows.
Yes, whenever they get the rubric back with the feedback, it's also this leads to the final glows and grows reflection. They highlight their glows in yellow and their grows in green, and this kind of leads them to the reflection they will do later on. But it's important to provide the rubrics before so that they know what we expect.
Yeah, you definitely want to provide a rubric before you start the project. That way students can have this along the way as they're developing, and they can go through each of those different pieces. And I love too for students to kind of self-check before they turn in their project. So they can use that rubric as well before they turn it in as another reflection piece to make sure that they covered everything. And so here is just kind of like a plan if you need another kind of document that is helpful for students when they're creating their projects as well. And then we have a ton of examples. So feel free on this slide to kind of click around, use, edit, whatever you need to do for your own classroom. Feel free to kind of take and do whatever you need.
Yes, you will find lots of links. with lots of ideas.
So again, I put in there the Google form for you to fill out if you need to. Some of you have already done that. But again, we'll send an email with all of the resources that we shared today. So you can kind of go through and check out these resources. But now we have an action step for you. Okay. So
yes, we have an invitation.
Yes. So we're going to put it into action. And what we love to do is a lot of make and takes. And so what you're going to do is from what you've learned today until I believe it is March 8th, you are going to take what you've learned and create a project. Try it, fail forward. And then on the 8th, we're going to make and take different project ideas and different ways that you have problem solved or roadblocks that have occurred. And so we would love for you to join us at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, because I'm awful at time zones, so don't even ask me to convert that. But I will put the YouTube link in there, and you can just hit a reminder, and it will remind you of our session. But you'll just join this link on the 8th, and then we want to see. And you can hit notify me so it reminds you in 109 days. You have to build a project and implement it with your students. So that is our call to action. And then we want you to kind of reflect and problem solve what went well, what didn't go well, and share that project on March 8th. And then we'll hopefully begin to create a new one based on what we learned.
Yes, and of course, if during the process you need support or you want to share the idea, we are there. You can reach us on every social media you can imagine, and we would love to know what you're doing and hear from you on March 8th.
Yes, and I'm going to throw my Twitter handle. Greta will put hers in the chat. And so if you do have questions, we don't have time right now, but please reach out to either one of us on Twitter, and we can help problem solve with you. Do not do this alone. You have a community of amazing educators, and if we don't know, we know somebody that might. And so again, this session has been recorded. So if you want to go back or you need to pause or replay anything, that will be available to you. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel down here, and you can scan it as well. But everything will be available afterwards. It just might take a few days to get everything uploaded. All right, so again, we would love for you to evaluate our session. So I'm going to drop that link in there as well. And we love feedback. So we just want to know, how can we grow and improve that reflection state as well? So there's that link. If you wouldn't mind just taking a few minutes to fill that out, we would greatly appreciate it. And then join the community. So make sure you join that global community of educators, because again, that is where you'll save a lot of time recreating things and thinking things through with a thought partner. All right, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much. And we are here wherever you need.
And there is our Twitter handles one more time if you need anything. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.